nuts, Jordan.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate everybody getting on. I'm sure we'll have some more trickling in. We got my dad on here, Kevin Barrett, Ursek. Many of you guys know the owner of Organics. Dave Stark on the science side. Brian Hansel, he's a new guy on the team. He's been around about a year. And then we also got Todd Leckler, our soil expert over on the Van Trump side. But yeah, I think Organics advertised this as my dad giving a little market update, giving the guys a little what's happening in corn, beans, and wheat. So we'll probably start with that, and then we'll get into a little bit of organics and things we're seeing on that end. So you want to kick it off, Dad, on that front?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Whatever you guys want me to comment on, I'm all game for. So, Mike, I think Jordan said in the report, just for everyone to know, we're invested in Organics. We've early investors, and Barrett's done some partnerships with us on some things. We liked what we saw with Barrett and his family, and and his team of people with Dave and the family that are running the business, and just liked Barrett's approach a little different, and certainly not as crazy backed by money as some of the others in this space, and some of the things they're doing. But we've been happy. We've seen some great success stories and some great growth through the years, and really built some great friendships with Barrett and, like I said, his family and his team, and some of the folks that have come on board. So it's been a win-win for us for sure, and we're proud to promote it, and hopefully folks can find it useful. And that's what's most important. That's what Jordan and I were talking about today. We want everyone to, I hope it's something that you can dial in and find useful for you and your operation, and help improve results and improve the soil for you and your family. So I like I said, I appreciate everyone coming out and being here and being supportive. I hate like hell to sell things. I just hate it. You guys know that. I tried not to. We've had everybody from John Deere to Pioneer to anybody asked to advertise all the time in the report through the years, and I just never have done it. I don't want to be that person. But like I said, we did invest early with Organics as an ag tech startup, along with Benson Hill, a few of the other ones that we do through iSelect. And we're going to make that available here coming up, just so everyone knows. We've gotten all the legalities done with the SEC and everyone else to allow our farmers and our farm families to be early stage investors in ag tech startups if they so find interest in that. Just as like Tyson and ADM and Cargill invest in all kinds of ag tech startups, I thought it would be awesome to allow other farm families to invest early in some of the ag tech startups. Not only just to try some of the new things that are coming out, because that way we can be early adopters of some of the newest technology, but also to, hell, maybe some of these, my play with the iSelect. So we'll invest in almost every ag tech startup that comes across that gets approved through our iSelect committee, which is Carter Williams and their team of folks. I won't go deep into it. But as we invest in each one, we'll throw $5,000, $10,000, things like that, small amounts seed capital in the early stages. And then, in hopes that those blow up and turn into bigger things, like we've seen with our some of our investments in Benson. And I know Barrett's doing another round of raises and some things of that nature. So I just think it's awesome, and allows us to see some of the early technology and early adoption, and use them, like I said, use the products on our farms and people we're partners with. It's just been helpful. So I won't go into any more on that. We'll talk about that, Jordan, on that next podcast we do with Carter and those guys over there. And if Barrett wants to talk on the round, he can talk on that. As far as the markets go, I think most of you know, I'm sold out of beans now. I got sold out of beans last week. When we pushed up north of 1550, had meal trade over 500. Like I said, that's pretty rarefied air when you get up into those levels. I'm not saying we can't go higher. Just from a marketing standpoint, I like ringing the register. There's a ton of bullish cards that have already been flipped over out of South America. We know that we're going to have to make further cuts to the Argentine crop. We know that Brazil, you could argue 1 million to 2 million metric tons either side of where the USDA is right now in Brazil. The harvest is about 23% complete with their harvest. All I'm telling you is this. Typically, I hate this period of time when we transition from South American weather worries to U.S. weather, okay? There's this lull. And when we hit this lull, you got to kind of ask yourself, what's the market done to this point? Well, shit, we've rallied $2 since the lows in beans. I mean, you've added $2 into the premium. The basis has stayed strong. So you got to keep these bulls fed. And in order to keep the bulls fed, you got to continue to have a steady stream of headlines. And I'm just worried as we hit this window where we transition, the worst, I suspect the worst of it is behind us in South America. Like I said, the Brazilian crop's 25% harvested, 23% harvested, and it looks like it's going to gain a little momentum. Most of the yields we've been hearing are pretty good. I feel like most of the Argentine crop loss is already accounted for and built into the price. That's why we've rallied like we've rallied. The fear is, as you know, we may not export as much meal out of Argentina. Argentina provides about 40% of the world's exports on the meal side. Well, they can't get any beans right now. They're importing beans from Brazil right now. The Argentine producer doesn't want to sell any of his old crop beans that they have because their inflation is running at 40, 50% clip. It's just a crappy situation right now in Argentina. And when they're the world's biggest supplier of meal, that means everyone kind of looks back here to the U.S. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if China's going to come to the table. I don't know if they're going to show a big appetite to buy U.S. meal or to buy U.S. beans in any larger capacity than they will. So you're going to have South American weather worries start to kind of fade, and you're going to have U.S. exports be transitioned. Now you're going to have the big exporter of beans become Brazil and part of Argentina. That's just historically how we go from a seasonal standpoint. So you've got to ask yourself, where are we going to get the headlines to keep the bulls fed when you're at plus 500 in meal and you're plus 1550 in beans? That's my question. And that's where I'm telling you, we've already walking back some of the crush. The crush numbers were disappointing yesterday. The USDA cut the crush in their last estimate, domestic crush. I think they got still more work to do on cutting the crush a little bit more. Maybe they raise exports a touch, but all I'm telling you is I don't know where you find some of the headlines to keep the bulls really pushing strong on the bean side. So that's where all I'm saying is I decided to opt and sell out of old crop beans. I didn't make any sales of new crop. We already got 30% price when we were north of $14 in that range. I just didn't pull the trigger on any more new crop beans. We got 30% of our new crop corn price. I've only got 10% of old crop corn left. I just wanted to keep the corn as kind of gambling stocks in case we had a bad spring weather worry. But think about it. If they start to talk about bad planting or bad spring weather, you know what they're going to say, that producers, we're going to cut our corn acres and plant more beans. So I just feel like maybe if I want to hold one over the other, I feel like I want to hold the corn over the beans, even though the beans have been the bull to this point. I just think I want to hold the corn back a little bit, kick the beans, cut them loose. As far as wheat goes, I think you've all seen, I did make my first 2024 wheat sale when we pushed back above $8 in soft red and then above $8.35 or $8.40 in hard red, just because, like I said, it's tough to turn your head away at plus $8 wheat, especially if your first initial sales. So I priced the first early 20%. I'm comfortable. I like that sale. We got 60% of new crop wheat already priced at really good, great levels. So I'm going to kind of take a wait and see approach. I think we got to believe these next 2 weeks that grain corridor deal in Ukraine expires. I believe it's March 19th. So we think Russia is going to just try to lever the hell out of this thing and use that to their advantage over the next 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to make every threat. They're going to threaten nuclear probably. They're going to threaten all kinds of things to try and negotiate a better deal with Europe and some of the other nations on moving more of their grain. And they're going to say they're not going to do this deal if they don't get more of their grain and more of their exports, oils and things like that put into play and move. So I think that's probably bullish, possibly a little bit for maybe wheat or corn. If just nearby, if they do a little saber rattling, they get a little nuts. So like I said, I'm going to use those rallies to price more bushels. I'm not going to be using them to just keep cheering on the bulls. I think you have to execute, pull the trigger. And like I said, I'd like to get a little more aggressive on some sales of new crop. If we catch those rallies or we get some weather worries here in the U.S. as we turn the page in the spring. So, that's really, Jordan, in a nutshell. I mean, that's really my take on things. Like I said, sold out of old crop beans, pretty aggressive on new crop wheat to this point, being more patient probably with corn, even though I've only got 10% left. So, I mean, I know there's some guys out there who have tons of old crop corn. I mean, hell, I know some guys that haven't priced any. So, you know, I don't know. That's balls. You know, that's ballsy to me. But like I said, that sometimes it works great for folks. So I'm just you know, a little bit different on my approach to that. So Jordan, you may have Todd.
Yeah,
You know,
you got targets in place for corn and beans on your next sale, or you just kind of staying put till planting, or?
well, yeah, you know, for me on a lot of that, a lot of people always ask those questions, and for me, I'm more of a time sensitive guy. So a lot of my marketing is all about time and time on the clock. And I know some people, they just never hear that very often, but it's like a football coach. I mean, I think you got to really work the clock, and it has to be really, really focused as part of your marketing. And all I'm saying is everyone's going to be different on that. Some of the guys that, you know, like I said, I got some buddies that they hate hauling anything in the winter because they all do other businesses in the winter and they don't want to haul any grain. So they're more aggressive with their clock. Their time clock's different than ours, Jordan. They're just way earlier. They want their time. They want to sell and move their product a lot earlier than we want. We've got some now who want to not sell anything until they plant next year's crop. I mean, they'll put every single thing in the bin and not sell one lick until, you know, we start planting next year's crop in the spring. I mean, hell, I've seen them make fortunes when they beat us many times on their approach. So, you know, I don't know, mine's, like I said, time sensitive. So I like to be about 40% sold by planting. Well, right now we're only 30% sold. So you're asking me what my time or what my price point is. I'm more worried about time kind of than anything, because I know once I get way behind on my time schedule with where I want to have my sales, then I really start to do stupid stuff like put my head in the sand and just like want to forget about it. But then it gets away from me and then I have nothing. I'm way behind on my sales, and then the market's not giving me a chance to, or not going to give me the headlines to make those moves. So, yeah, Jordan, I'd like to get another. That's why I pulled the trigger in 24 wheat. It wasn't because I was bearish wheat. I've been letting it tick. I watched the clock for the last 3 months, and I'm like, I have got to get this stake in the ground. So I pulled the trigger when we got back above $8, and I'm still a little bullish wheat, but I knew if I didn't do that psychologically and we break back lower, I'm going to put my head in the sand and I'm going to do nothing and sit there like a deer in the headlight and not make any sales, and I'm going to be pissed. And I just don't want that. So a lot of mine's time related, time sensitivity, and what I think can come up moving forward. So yeah, I'm going to keep 10% of old crop corn available just to play the spring, you know, a little bit of summer weather. I probably want to have that sold by, you know, I'll probably look to have that sold June, before June even. So sometime between now and then, I got to pull the trigger on that damn thing. I want to believe there's a shot at $7, you know, getting it back above $7 at the end. Maybe I'm just being greedy. And also, I think I want to just have some gambling stock because I like to gamble a little bit. So it's like, those are my two main reasons. And, you know, beans, it was the same thing. I never hold the beans as long as I hold the corn. So that was the time thing again. I wanted to get sold out. I knew I wanted to get sold out within the next month or two. And I thought, shit, this is probably good as opportunity as I'm going to get, because we're not going to have South American weather worries. U.S. weather worries are probably going to lean more towards corn problems, not the beans. It'll be too early for the funds to get that worried about U.S. beans. I mean, that's just my opinion. So, like I said, a lot of mine's time sensitive. So I think a lot of folks can take out of that from that what they want. It's not as much price sensitive as it is time sensitive. And the reason it becomes time sensitive, guys, is just because we got a new crop every single year. If this was a family heirloom and I was never going to get it again, yes, I would be price sensitive. You see what I'm saying? Like our Mantle rookies, our Jackie Robinson. Yeah, I'm price sensitive, not time sensitive. I got all the time in the world. With corn, you're going to grow a new crop every year, and you only got so much storage, and you only got so much transportation ability. So to me, it becomes more of a time sensitive objective with your marketing, more so than price a lot of times. So just my thoughts on that. Hope that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess we'll jump into some organic stuff. I think we've got a lot of exciting things happening this year.
Hey, Jordan, if you guys have questions on the marketing, we can save it till the end, and I can open it up for questions.
Yeah, and guys, and just so you understand on how the webinar works, there's a device there for you to a tab for you to put in your questions. You can type them in, and at the end we can go through them and answer them. And if for some reason we don't get to all the questions, we can also email you responses.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying growth-wise, I think this is probably one of the biggest years we've had overall with the company growth, don't you think, Barrett? I mean, you want to share a little bit on just what we've done, kind of what we did last year, what we're planning to do this year, maybe talk about the new fall product we're offering now, the new Iowa facility, the Dream Lawn. You want to share kind of all the stuff we got in the hopper?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you, it's this is the most exciting time I've ever been in business, and I've been an entrepreneur, built and sold, 2 other companies in the fertilizer space before I got to Organics. And at this moment in time, this is just the most fun I've ever had, and that's because we're in explosive growth mode, and we're getting to impact so many different customers in positive ways, and it just feels good. We're hustling, we're working harder than ever, but it's fun work. So just put in perspective, last year we have a turf division where we sell. So what Organics, for those of you who may not know, Organic, we manufacture and distribute microbial-based products that drive soil health, nutrient efficiency, yield, and we sell into markets primarily turf grass, so to professional turf grass operators who manage golf courses, sports fields, and lawn care companies. And we sell into, obviously, agriculture, which is what we're talking about today, corn, soy, cotton, wheat, as well as specialty crops. And so that's kind of our two go-to-market channels. And in agriculture, last year we were significantly grew acres from, let's say 175 to about 350,000 acres of corn and soy, just those 2 crops alone. And then this year we're forecasting 1 million acres plus, and we've got real visibility on that 1 million acres. So significant growth there. And looking at next year, we're looking to be 3 million acres. So that's exciting to have that much impact on that many farms and help improve profit per acre, soil health on those farms. To keep up with all that growth, we've also had to increase our production capabilities quite a bit. And so our headquarters is in Pennsylvania. That's where we started. We doubled manufacturing capabilities in Pennsylvania since November. So in the last several months, we doubled production capabilities in Pennsylvania. But we also, last summer, broke ground on a new facility in Iowa. And we've duplicated the production capabilities in Pennsylvania in Iowa. So all in the last 2 quarters, we have 4x'd our production capabilities to really keep up with the demand we're seeing. And one of the reasons, Jordan and Kevin and everybody's listening, that I think we're seeing all this increase in demand is a couple things. One is we've been in the market long enough that we've proven over multiple years that we're driving soil health, we're driving fertilizer efficiencies, we're driving yields, profit per acre, and we've got multiple years of experience on farms that kind of point to the fact that we've really proven ourselves. But I think customers are really, really hyper aware right now in the last couple of years because of obviously the cost of inputs have just skyrocketed, that people are, producers are paying more attention than ever at their input costs and how can they be more efficient with them. So that turns into conversations around soil health, around using microbes to drive soil health, and all of those things can drive input costs down and make them more manageable. And so at Organics, we're unlike any other microbial because we use a large consortium of microbes, over 800 species of bacteria, fungi, and amoeba and protozoa that are all working together in that system approach to drive that soil health and that nutrient efficiency. And it's really on topic right now with producers because it's really what they need. And so we're scrambling to try to keep up with demand, frankly, and we're excited to do so. So that's on the ag side. On the turf side, we've partnered with a large franchisor of home services that's a nationwide franchisor, and we're helping them launch a lawn care division called Dream Lawn, powered by Organics, soon to be in a town near you. We're in Kansas City. That's where we launched in Q4. You'll see us on the billboards. Look for the Dream Lawn billboards, commercials, TVs. So it's using the Organics microbial technology to create green, weed-free lawns with a better environmental footprint. And we just bought our first truck for Omaha, Nebraska. So that'll be our second location. We hope to be in 20 locations within the next 2 to 3 years with that group. And so Organics has ownership in that company, as well as obviously supplying that company with product. And then we continue to grow our traditional, golf course and sports turf business as well. And that's kind of, where we started. So all of those things have been really exciting. We also launched a new product in ag last year called Breakdown. I'll have Brian kind of give you some field experience on that when he comes up. But we help break down residue post-harvest, and it works really, really well. So that product launched last year too. So all in, it's just an incredibly exciting time to be in this company and working with the wonderful team I've got, and working with families that are part of your organization as well. So it's been just a good time to be here.
For sure. Thanks for the update, Barrett. Yeah, I wanted to bounce over to Brian. Brian, you still on there? Look a little glitchy.
I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Brian's new to the staff. This is, I guess, just to be upfront with everybody, this is his first year in the ag space, and I think he's definitely come a long way. But he's kind of taking the bull by the horns on the ag side of things, and he's blowing up in Iowa, getting a lot of acres up there. But I kind of just wanted him to share everybody's thought, or just share his thoughts on what he's seeing work and kind of the main changes we've kind of brought to the table this year with organics, and where we're really starting to see some traction.
Yeah, I mean, the most exciting thing I think that we're seeing in the marketplace is how deeply farmers are resonating with the idea of soil health. Intuitively, everybody that you talk to recognizes that our practices today, we have to do them, but they definitely knock back the biology and the life in our soil. So whether it's tillage practices, whether it's using anhydrous, whether it's using fungicides, there's obviously a lot of things going on there that we know we have to do to be productive farmers, but at the same time, there hasn't been a good way to solve for that. So as we've really engaged them in conversation, been out, and we're almost hosting daily grower meetings across the Midwest. And you get people in a room and let them actually think about the idea that, okay, if I had an application that I could put in my soil at planting that basically put all the tools for nature back to work, gave it all of the broad base of living microbes that should be there, and let nature take over from there, I think really where it's resonating is that farmers say, you know what, I trust nature more than I trust anything, right? And if I can give back the soil everything it needs to be productive and efficient, I trust the outcome of that. So I think that more than anything, clearly the results speak volumes. We came into Iowa last year. We got about 60 farmers. All 60 have reordered for this year. So 100% reorder rate. And that's been true across the company for the last 5 years, a very, very high level of follow through, because when people see healthy plants, they get excited and they're willing to stick with that investment, and putting that money into your soil and getting that productivity up is really what's happening. So again, as we get out in these grower meetings, we tend to see 80 to 90% of the farmers that are in that room say, yes, I want to give it a try. I've had 2 farmer meetings so far today. They both bought product. I mean, it's just one of those things. I think the whole marketplace is talking about biology. They're talking about life. They're talking about microbes, but our product resonates because it's broad-based and it's nature. It's not about a single bug doing a single function, and they feel like it's a safe investment, and they know that if I get healthier soil, I'm going to have a better farm, right? So that's getting everybody excited for the spring. I will say the breakdown product probably has people talking as much as anything, because people have residue issues. If you're growing great crops, you got a lot of stuff on top of your soil. How do you clean it up? If you're trying to go no-till, how do you clean it up? People are seeing, the need to do tillage passes just to clean up their ground. And we've shown them through our product last fall that that's not the case. And so as you put down the living microbes, which is the only thing that creates decomposition, and you see it absolutely take care of that corn stover and clean up your bean ground, get ready to plant, and do it in a way that most likely is going to reduce your tillage requirements. All right, so go from a conventional till to a simple, vertical till, or maybe not till at all. That's where people are saying, wait a minute, like healthier soil, less tillage passes, and higher yields. This is something that makes sense to me. So again, across the board, I think the message is resonating because people have been awoken to the fact that nature has a real place beyond chemicals in their field, but there hasn't been a great way to really, easily put it down. So I talk about this as yogurt for your dirt. This is probiotic, right? It's our practices are knocking back the life. We're giving a practical way to put it back. The picture that's on the screen right now, we were in this field yesterday, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. And the person who was with me thought this was bean ground going to corn, because after a season of beans, this is about how much corn you tend to still have a year later, and this was corn last year. We put the breakdown on it. 3 weeks later, did a vertical till, and there's just no stover left. It's all down in the ground, and those nutrients have been returned. The field above is the adjacent field, vertical tilled at the same time with no breakdown. And I was in that field yesterday too, and they're going to have to till in the spring. So it saved the tillage pass, it moved those nutrients. Again, you have happy farmers. So I will say the fall product, again, is going to be a game changer in terms of helping people run their farms differently and reduce tillage. The spring product brings life to your soil, and the combination of the two is really exciting. So I'll pause there, but I can tell you the market is resonating with the idea of putting nature back to work.
Yeah, I also want to touch on, Brian, on like how like the guys you brought on, I think you've done a great job of this. How much are they paying attention to the results and taking the test serious and all that stuff? I think a lot of people in the past, they've just decided to throw the product on, really haven't paid attention to it, and then at the end of the day, they don't really see results. And I don't think that's what we're trying to sell, and we're not trying to sell a product. You just throw it down and, hell, I got 30 bushels better this year. I better use this stuff every year. I mean, I do think the stuff's going to take work, and I mean, there's a lot of biology that goes into it. I think I just want you to explain to people what tests people are taking and how serious they're taking it, and what people need to do to actually see the results.
Yeah, I mean, I think why we got 60 farmers to come back in Iowa is because every one of them, we were in their field. From the road, you don't always see the results. You actually got to walk out in that field. You got to dig some roots. You got to actually look at the soil health. You got to look at the tilt of the soil, check your moisture levels, see that, wait a minute, like I have less bug pressure out here. All those things are things that a farmer, regardless whether you see it in the combine, it's like, I will bet on a healthy plant over a week one every day. And if I happen to get a stress, I know I'm going to be in a better place. Now, the good news is usually we see good results in the combine. But if you've already got them sold halfway through the season because they've seen a healthier plant and they know if they get some drought pressure that they're going to weather it, and they do. They see the insect pressure across the road and they're not seeing it on their own crop. It's like it's making a difference. So all those little pieces it's the accumulation of seeing nature at work, and you got to go observe it. So yeah, we're checking the microbial activity in the soil. We're looking at moisture levels. We're looking at tilt. We are really, truly, showing the farmer what's going on, and they appreciate it because they do trust nature. They like to see it. But yeah, you got to get out of your pickup truck and actually go check it to make sure along the way. And that's part of the role that I know the team that we've got on the ground out there now is really taken seriously, and it's made a big, big difference.
Yeah, I agree. We'll bounce over to Dave for a little bit. I know we advertise this on our end, is thinking about inputs a little bit differently. And Dave, on your end, I mean, what do we kind of, I know we'd never advertised this in the past because we really weren't sure. And this last year, we saw some really great results, just how the cards played out. I mean, we kind of people tried it out, and now we're kind of recommending people pull back on some fertilizers. Or other inputs? What are we kind of recommending on that front? And I guess, another thing I wanted to ask her, what are some real life scenarios people have been doing across the country?
Okay. Yeah, for guys who, have heard me talk about this over the last 6-7 years, you can see how I've changed. So I have a doctorate in molecular biology from Washington University. So I'm a scientist from the show me state. So you got to drag me kicking and screaming. I got to see it first. So I've been really soft because there hasn't been a lot of science done on the soil and soil biology, which you think is crazy. That's changed the last couple years. So now it is totally clear it's the biology that actually feeds the plant. And there's, again, hundreds literally of studies that show when you put fertilizer down, if you have biologically active soil, you're going to get far higher nutrient use efficiency. So I say all this because it's tough talking guys into backing off their fertilizer. I had a half-hour call this morning with a guy, 1,500 acre farm. Last year he spent $450,000 on fertilizer, and he spreads 3 tons of manure per acre. So he's at about a unit of nitrogen per bushel, because he's about a 300 bushel an acre corn guy. And I'm saying, you've got a lot of nutrition, but you're in a situation where you have so many nutrients in your soil your plants are not feeding the microbes. So you're not, if you keep that up, don't use a product like ours because the plant's ignoring them. What you want to do is get the nutrient levels down to get the microbes and the plants working together. They're synergistic. And my whole point to guys is biology that's diverse, like Barrett said, bacteria, protozoa, fungi, beneficial nematodes. The science is crystal clear. You can sleep at night backing off your fertilizer inputs because you're going to have a lot less wasted and a lot more going to the crop. Why don't we go to slide 12 and I'll tell you a story. Real life. Now it's slide 12. There you go. I picked this one because it's from the Van Trump report. So Todd, you probably remember talking to John. So John Weisman up in southern Minnesota, he's talking about how he did an accidental fertilizer reduction study because his tank ran out. And so part of his field only got 35 pounds of nitrogen. The rest of the field got 100 pounds more. They yielded the same. So his point is, he knows for the last couple of years he's been taking care of his ground. So the microbes are releasing the nutrients that are in there. Now, by the way, he also was quick to point out he's not going to do that again. So he's not going to cut 100 pounds less and use our product. But the point is, you really can trust the biology to help you out. So if we go to the previous slide, it's an Iowa one. I think it's slide 11. No, the previous. Yeah, there we go. So I did a number of third-party trials. So these are paid third-party researchers, and you can see we did everything from 5% to 20% less fertilizer, NPK, and you can see even with 20% less, we're getting the same yield. So here you probably pencil out, you wouldn't cut 20% because you got actually 5 bushels more cutting 5. But it's a tool. And Jordan, that's the big thing. I myself have changed so much over the years to where I've been conservative and go slow. But seriously, if you take care of the ground, it's going to take care of you. You know, take little bites. You can get from a pound of nitrogen per bushel of corn, depending on your ground, to almost half of that, close to removal rates. If you're on light ground, sandy soil, maybe you can't get that low. But you really can move and cut the P and K as well. And you'll see cheaper inputs, better results at the end of the season, while you actually build the quality of your soil. I mean, it's an exciting time to be in microbials because we're learning so much about what they could do for us.
Todd,
Hey,
you
you want
want
to talk about pivot?
Hey, Jordan, let me talk 1 second on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think because that's something we didn't, like Dave's saying, in years past. So when we first invested in organics, and I called up some of my buddies, some of the farmers, I said, hey, just give it a shot and try it, right? You know, we just said, hey, see what you think. And a lot of it was just put on and then tell us what you get, you know, if you get a bounce in bushels, right? And, you know, that happened for the majority of the people. I mean, I'd probably say 80% saw jumping bushels. I did have some friends, though, that put it on and said, oh, I didn't see shit. I didn't see any change in it. I didn't see nothing. And what was weird, Dave, if you remember, that some of the people right down the road in the same county kept ordering more and more of it, but yet some of my buddies in the same county were like, I didn't see shit. So I called a few of the guys, and the same guy said, why are you ordering more and more? And they said, well, we're tinkering around with it, and I'm really starting to drop my inputs on some of this ground. That was over about a 3-year period, remember? And I'm like, no shit. And so I think, and what Jordan and I want to tell everyone is, we have not had, Jordan and I personally and our friends, I mean, some guys have not reordered. You know, they didn't like that it had to come out and stay refrigerated. They didn't like that it had to come out and there was a time window of time to put it on. There were just some things. But the folks who really were in the soil and were willing to tinker around with it and use it as a tool, like you're saying, Dave, we didn't know that in the beginning, and they're starting to dial it in and have dramatically cut costs and inputs in a big time way. And like I said, we weren't going to tell people that in the beginning. We didn't know for certain of that in the beginning. We didn't know how they were going to tinker around with it and use it as a tool. But Brian said something to me one day when we were out talking, like, it's really going to increase whatever the hell you got going on. It's going to increase the uptake. Am I saying that right, Dave and Brian? I mean, it's going to increase the uptake. And if you're too high on something, I mean, it's going to show. I mean, you're going to increase the uptake of things that are too high. And if you're too low, you know, I think so. You have to kind of play around with it. You got to get with your agronomist. You're going to have to dial in on places, you know, where you can really see some major input reductions. I had a couple of buddies who gotten a little bit of a jam with the fertilizer people, and we all kind of know what I'm saying. They got a little jam. They couldn't get fertilizer, and they called like, "What the hell you think? This is our only out." And I said, "Well, let's go big and bad. Let's see what happens." And they had one hell of a year this year, and you know, like, it wasn't an accident. It kind of was an accident. It's damn near like how Barrett got into the whole business. His whole entire operation blew up all of his fertilizer with it. And this was all he had to go with and go to. And then they found out some great things would happen when you were kind of, you know, put against the wall, so to speak, and that he didn't have anything else to use. So that has happened with a couple of my producers this last year, like I said, who I think they got in a little jam with fertilizer folks, and they went with this alternative, and hell, they saw bang up results. So, but all I'm telling you is, if you're just going to toss it out, and you're going to maybe you think you're going to see a big result, I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm just telling you, if you're going to take the time though, and do like they're doing in Iowa, and like some of the guys are doing on these, where Brian had 100% return orders. I mean, it is because they're out in the field, they're spending time seeing the results and testing all the things. And I think that's why we're really super excited. We would like to get that duplicated across the board, and, you know, hear more people stories on how they're doing that. So Todd, yeah, you talked to most of our people, Todd, so tell them what you're.
Yeah, at this point, with everything that's been said, mine will be mostly a reiteration, but starting with Barrett's deal, that the last 2 years has incredibly opened guys' eyes and ears to being open to a conversation. The word weasel piss is being used a lot less, even by Dave Stark himself now. So it's guys are starting to have a conversation. But something that hasn't been said yet that Dave usually says is, it's not a silver bullet. This is a tool that has to be used. And when I talk to growers every day, I generally try and steer it into a soil health conversation. And, you know, I make this comment to every one of them, and no one corrects me. That's, 95% of the growers don't have any concept of soil health from a biological perspective. All that to say, it makes a lot of these conversations challenging, and these guys need to understand that the soil is an ecosystem and how it works. Brian talked about bringing nature back. There's a lot of little details we can go over, but, ideally, you got to tie in some other practices, because when you understand soil biology, you understand the things you are doing are destroying it. And that's not, we can only put a Band-Aid on. So just get educated, get somebody on your team, get educated on, what's going on down there. It's an ecosystem that needs to be treated that way if you're going to make some changes.
And the other thing I was always taught as a kid, I mean, I hate putting down other people's products to make my product look better. I always felt you were insulting people's choice when you did that. If someone chooses Pivot Bio, I think they should choose that. I'm fine with that. That's great. Use that. I'm fine. I don't want to put it down. I think it has some positives, I'm sure, that go with it. The only difference is, and this is what I would say, and this is what I feel, is, we may be the higher end product, and I want to believe that in my head, is because we send it out, it has to be refrigerated. Yes, that is a pain in the ass on our end, for sure, from the refrigeration standpoint. We can talk about that with Barrett. You got like a 2-week window, correct, Barrett?
Yeah, actually, we got like 4 to 6 weeks out of refrigeration, depending on outside ambient temperature. Colder it is, the longer you get. And that has increased over the last 5 years. We've gotten a longer shelf life of the microbial. So basically, our customers, they know when they're going to plant. They order the material. It's stored in refrigeration, ships to the grower. They don't need refrigeration because they know they're going to put it down within a month. And as long as they do, they're in good shape.
And to a dummy like me, I remember we were out with Dave Stark one time, 2 years ago, 3 years, traveling around. And I played a ton of golf, played a lot of sports as a kid. Remember when you got in those muddy patches, or even on phone, and it stunk. It like smelled shitty. And it's the microbes are dying. They're oversaturated. They're dying. And so that's the smell, is the dying microbes. Well, as this comes out to you guys refrigerated, Barrett's has, in his product, has more living microbes and more living organisms in it than any of the other products. That's why we have to keep it refrigerated and cooled so the organisms stay alive. You're trying to put living organisms back in your soil. So if you want to buy the dry shelf products, shit, knock yourself out. Go nuts, buy them. I don't, my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to work as well, knowing what I've learned from these science guys on what's dying in the ground. You're trying to put the living organisms back in. And I have said to Barrett from day one, as an early investor, I said, gosh, damn, Barrett, if you could get rid of this refrigeration crap, we could sell this stuff everywhere, you know, because then it'd have shelf life. It'd be in a powder form. It'd be easy. But he's like, well, dude, well, I mean, it's not going to work very good. He's like, the people are not going to be happy. And I'm just like, oh, gosh, damn. So, I mean, I see his point. My point is, you know, pick whatever one you want. I mean, try them. Like I said, I don't want to put anyone's opinion down. And like I said, I think those people are doing a great job of marketing and promoting. And I'm just telling you why our has to stay refrigerated, or why it's in refrigeration when it comes out, because we have all way more living organisms than the others. I believe that's why we're seeing a lot better, more consistent results longer term. Dave, Brian, you guys, am I saying?
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on. And I think for me, it really, most farmers are reacting positive to it. They get it. It's like, so you guys are refrigerating it so that they basically stop growing, stop eating the food, so that when it gets to me, I've got maximum amount of time because there's food left in the tote. So we put enough food in that tote. In the upper Midwest, where honestly we don't have hot springs, you know, we're seeing 6-8 weeks of time, right? So if you're planning on a month and get a rain delay, you're still okay, right? It is not ice cream, as Dave always says. And farmers recognize, wait a minute, the fact that it's alive does make it the product I want to buy. And if for whatever reason you don't get it on because of delays and it ends up dying, you will know the day it dies because it smells just like swamp. It smells terrible and you'll know right away, and we'll replace it. That said, we've replaced 2 totes in 3 seasons. So it doesn't happen often because this isn't fragile. I think a lot of the other conversations that people have had in the microbial space, the few other groups like a Pivot Bio who have live biology have very fragile biology, and it is sensitive to mixing with other things. It's sensitive, and so they are a little bit afraid of it. Ours is not that product. And again, I'm with you, Kevin. I mean, the best indicator we have that we're doing something different is it does need to be refrigerated, and really we haven't put any of that onus on the farmer, which makes it pretty practical.
And Dave, why don't you pull up the Pivot's bio slide so you can see how our product actually works with Pivot in a positive way.
It's slide 13, Ritu.
And that help, the Iowa plant's going to help with a lot of that too, because now we're more centrally located in the Midwest, and we'd like to even put another plant even further west eventually. So we, you know, logistics standpoint on the refrigerator.
I'm now working on it. We just need to sell some more product. It's all good.
We want that problem. Yeah. So. And I'm with you, Kevin. I don't like to say bad things about other products. Many of them can do some of the things they advertise, and if they work in your operation, I say, God bless you, use them. I like this particular picture because it tells a lot about what's going on in the soil, and all it cost was walking out to the field with a shovel. So you didn't have to send it off to a lab. You could just see it yourself. So when I saw this picture, you know, what we've got on the left 3, and I know it's kind of hard to see, that's using our Bio 800 product with Pivot Bio and starter fertilizer. The middle 2 are Pivot Bio only, and the 2 on the right are just starter fertilizer. So the first thing I see is, you know, look at the far right, starter fertilizer only, and the Pivot, the roots are bare. There's no dirt on them. And if you look in close, which it's hard to do, but you don't see a lot of root hairs. But if you look at the ones where you add organics, you see dirt stuck to them, and you see a lot of root hairs. So what does that tell us? First of all, that the ground that this is planted in is not biologically diverse, because it takes different kinds of microbes. They're always sending out biochemical signals, and when they sense that they have a certain level of population, but also diversity, not just a few bacteria, but you have to have fungi and others. It triggers what's called quorum sensing. So they actually, as a population, change their gene expression and they start gluing soil to the root. Why do we care? That's where all the nutrient exchange occurs. That's where water is captured. That's where drought protection occurs. That's the action. That's called the rhizosheath. Without diverse biology, you don't get a rhizosheath. Plus, and there's some great work out of Rutgers that blew my mind, and it's incredibly good science. Root tips, when you hit this quorum sensing, start absorbing microbes at the root tip. They take them up inside the root. They strip off their cell walls for the nutrients. A lot of them die and they get all the nutrients, but some of them go to where the bud for the root hair is. They secrete a hormone that induces the root hair formation. The microbes go out to the end of the root. They're spit back out in the soil. They mine the soil for more nutrients, go back and feed it to the plant. The cycle completes. It only happens when there's diverse biology. So you can tell, again, with a shovel, if what's going on in your soil. And when you've got diverse biology, now you know you can start backing off your inputs and you're actually building your soil health at the same time. So that's a long explanation, you know, mixing pivot with organics. And I've got a lot more pictures that are just like this in third-party data. And I told the guys at Pivot, because I'm friends with them. I mean, let's face it, we all used to work at Monsanto at some point. So seriously, that they ought to mix their product with ours, because our microbes will help theirs survive better. And the consortium survives better than individual strains.
Makes sense.
You want to run through the application process real quick, Dave? I think that's something we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, ours is real flexible. It's generally half a gallon an acre. We want it put down at planting or as close as practical. So burn down, you can put it in the row 2 by 2. Tank mix it with other stuff you're putting down, just not fungicide. It's also not brilliant if you're going to dribble anhydrous right on top of the microbes, because that kills a lot of stuff. So if you can keep it a little separate from an anhydrous, otherwise it's real flexible.
And we could do broadcast as well as in furrow, as well as side dress. Whatever application method is good for you is as close to seeding as practical. And that's for our spring product, which is going to help with germination, nutrient efficiency, rooting. And then we have the fall product, which goes down post-harvest. And that's going to typically be broadcast as soon as possible post-harvest, while the soil temperatures are still above, 45, 50 degrees, and we have a little bit of moisture is the ideal scenario to put that down. And again, a half a gallon an acre for that as well.
Cool. I think we got about 10 minutes left. Do we want to run through the special offer again? Appreciate everyone being on here. We wanted to do a little special offer for everyone that attended, and then open it up to some questions after that.
Great. Brian, why don't you take this?
Yeah, so for everybody who's joined today, again, what we want to do is it's just really critical for anybody who hasn't tried our product to get it down. If you try it, you will come back and buy more acres and keep using it. So to try to make that a little easier, we're basically giving 10% off any new user. So anybody who wants to sign up and buy product, I think we said by Monday, give you guys a couple days. If you call in an order, we'll give you 10% off your initial order, because what we really want to do is just get it out there. If you get it on your acres, you're going to see the value and you'll come back for more.
And in order to put if they need to put an order in, Ritu, you want to put up that text message, you can certainly call anybody from the Van Trump team. They'll connect you to us. We have dealers all over the country, which we can connect you to as well. But we've got this text message number right here. If you just text that'll go to the office and they'll route it to the appropriate person. Any questions at all, you can text to that. If you want to schedule a call with us, we'll all send everybody a email after this on how to schedule a call. You can always text that number and have somebody set up a meeting with you, or help you find out how to order, whether it's through us or through one of our dealers, depending on where you're located and who can support you best. And again, the Van Trump team know how to connect us as well. So all of that is available on that phone number. It's in case you're not looking at it, it's 206-647-0696. You can also go to Holganix.com, HOLGANIX.com. We've also got product performance book, which we can send you with a bunch of data, a 20-minute video that we can send you. And if you go to www.bio800ag.com, you'll get a quick video tutorial. And we also have a soil ebook primer that just talks all about soil health, which we'd be happy to send you as well. So all those things are available to everybody that's on the call here today. Also, Kevin, just to kind of follow up on something you referenced, we are completing our Series C fundraise, and we've only let in aligned investors, so investors that are somehow tied to our customer base. So they're either promoters, distributors, or users. We're not taking pure financial dollars. It's just we're looking for people that are aligned with our vision, so that we aligned investors. We're nearly fully subscribed. It closes February 28th. At this point, it looks like we've probably raised the amount of money that we've committed to raising. But if there are some producers on the call that would like to get in with we probably got a little bit that we could let a few people in on. Just reach out to us on that text or talk to anybody, the Van Trump team. They'll tell you how to get a hold of me, and we can get you up to speed on that. But just to kind of follow up on that, which Kevin had teased us about a little bit in the beginning, and it's been it's been an incredibly easy fundraise. So really grateful for everybody who's participated. We also have a question here, Dave. I think it probably goes to you, and it's actually from Brad Veal. So Brad, he's one of our dealers. And his question was, how come, sometimes I get an ROI from my clients. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And sometimes we're scratching our head and maybe we're not always seeing the ROI. We're sitting here, the way we're talking, it's 100% uptake. It's, 100% happy. And, Brad's out there working the field, and sometimes they see the results and sometimes maybe they don't. You want to speak to that? You probably know exactly what's going on in Brad's market from a climate perspective, I imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that contribute to it. So first of all, it's really tough to judge any product just based on yield because there's so many variables that go into yield. Partly how you even set up the plot design. So I'm not saying that anyone's doing anything wrong. I'm just telling you, my career at Monsanto, this is why we would do thousands and thousands of plots over multiple locations, because it's a statistics game. And the criteria to launch a product, not just Monsanto, but DuPont, Syngenta, et cetera, 70% wins versus check. So when you're just doing yield, it is so problematic that you're going to have a lot of losses that don't really tell you the truth. And also, if you look at any field map that comes from your yield monitor, is it all the same color? Of course not. The differences across the field, like down a row, can be over 100 bushels, and that's not true. So the tools we have make something highly variable tough. This is why you didn't hear me talk about yield. You heard me talk about building soil, cutting fertilizer. You're going to have a better crop that most of the time, even doing things, running and blowing hard, which I know you have to do when you're harvesting, you're going to see on the yield monitor, but you don't always. And but at the same time, you're making better roots, more out of your nutrients. You should be saving money on your fertilizer that more than pays for the product. Again, I can get into all kinds of other things I've seen go wrong, but 100% wins, no one does that. And I was in the lab that invented Roundup Ready. We did not have 100% wins. Actually, we had, just on yield, we lost on Roundup Ready. It was other things that made that technology so good.
I'm just going to say, I doubt Brad's just exclusively talking about profitability based on yields. I think he's talking everything. And my whole thing is this: if you're not seeing profitability or ROI, don't do it. Don't do it. Move on.
I think the interesting thing, Kevin, as I've seen it in the marketplace, is that if somebody says, hey, I just didn't see it in the combine, it's the same person who didn't cut back, right? So you've cut the sword both ways. So you didn't save any money up front, which is absolutely part of the formula to your ROI. And because you didn't, you've effectively, in most cases, overfed your plant, which actually demotivated it from even trying to feed and build the biology, which we need the plant on board here to help us build biology, because we're putting down the seed stock. It's got to multiply because nature's asking it to multiply. And so the person who's saying, hey, I'm going to give this a try, I'm not going to listen to your recommendations, I'm not going to pull back, is most likely the person who's not getting the ROI because A, they didn't save any up front, and that actually worked against them in terms of the ability to build biology. But to your point, if it's not working, don't do it. I mean, we all have to we're here to make money, guys. That's what this is about. But usually it's interesting how the two are connected. Is the person who's not confident enough to actually try to pull back and save money up front is also the person who doesn't see it on the yield monitor.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to stress when you pull back, I would do it pre-plant or at planting. In season, if your crop is telling you it needs a nutrient, give it the nutrient. And personally, I hate fall applied fertilizer.
I think too, I mean, you get what you put into it. I mean,
yeah,
there ain't anything in life that's easy that you're going to see great results with. I mean, related to baseball, I relate to my ag flag business, whatever I've been successful in. I mean, it takes work. And I mean, you 100% get what you put into it. And I see this with a lot of guys that use it. I mean, John Nelson, for example, up in South Dakota, one of our best dealers, the guy is completely eaten up with soil health, and he is gone all in on the investment with soil health. And I'll be honest, he's seeing the best results and comes up with new ideas on how people can see better results moving forward. So I think you have to go into it with the mindset of, this is an investment I want to make. I want to invest in better in my soil for my family and my farm. And if that's not your mindset and you're not wanting to put a whole lot into it and just spray it down and see what happens, I mean, yeah, you're probably not going to see the best results. I mean, and I think that's what Brian,
you're dead on there. I mean, okay, if I'm changing nothing at all, I'm putting my anhydrous down in the fall. You know, I'm going to put 3 fungal treatments on during the season. I'm going to till like I've always tilled. I'm going to do nothing to try to help this biology be successful, and then judge the biology for not doing its job. That's not a key to success. You have to lean into the idea of rebuilding your soil. And the beauty of this is it's probably the simplest first step to seeing real benefit, seeing healthier soil, but you then have to get on the train. You have to start looking at alternatives to tillage. You got to start looking at less inputs. You got to start making some of those moves. If you ignore everything and just put it down, don't buy it because you're not going to get the value. And we don't want that. Again, I've got guys that say, I'm putting down 240 pounds of nitrogen to get 200 bushel of corn. And I said, please don't buy my product. Like, you already wasted enough money. Don't waste more. Like you're not doing what's necessary. So let's all just, your strategy is a strategy, follow it. It's not the strategy that's working for us, but to your point, Jordan, you're dead on. This is not just about a magic pill that you put down and it magically works. It's part of a process. To me, it's probably the easiest first pill for everybody to take towards regenerative farming, but it's still a process. And something like John is a great example of somebody who's doing it right.
I think that goes back to what I said about users in the same county. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking not very far from each other, and I can name several specifics. I almost feel like it's like when one of my buddies just loses a shitload of weight on a diet and he tells me the diet's great, and then I take over and don't lose a shitload of weight. Yeah, that's I don't know. I feel like, hey, these people lied to me. Nah, probably not. I probably didn't do my job on that. But no, I'm just saying, we've seen that in several counties. I mean, right down the street from people, one person's just a crazy fan and says they're saving all this money and it's returning great ROI. And the other one, and they're great. They're both great farmers. They both do great things. And I'm like, not putting anyone out. And the other one's like, I just don't. So I don't know. I'm with Brad. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm sure there's people that, some may just not see it. Like I said, like with the diet, I don't know.
But also
we can't debate the science, in my opinion, that it is adding microbes back. You are trying to build back soil health. I mean, like I said, my wife Jordan used on rose bushes, and rose bushes went ape shit nuts. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So I think if you're not seeing any luck or success, and you tried it on different plots of ground, and you tried different dialing it in, I would just, I wouldn't buy it.
But Brian, also talk about how in the middle of the year, we don't always get yield. We can get nutrient efficiency right up front, but we always get healthier plants, and we got to inspect for that if we're doing a better job. Healthier plants should have better yield, but every year could be different. So talk about how you verify that we got healthier plants halfway through the season, Brian, and why that worked in Iowa, where you saw great results, but maybe there were some cases where we didn't see yield, but you still got to reorder.
So again, I think Jordan brought this up earlier, but yeah, I mean, this is a hands-on deal. Like you got to go out and actually touch and feel this stuff. And, you know, if you do, and you can actually start to connect the farmer to the soil, have him start observing what's actually happening, looking at the plant, because they know this stuff, but honestly, a lot of them just haven't leaned in because they hadn't had a reason to. We give them a reason to start looking at their dirt again and say, how do I move dirt to soil? I want that back. And that's part of the magic, is getting the buy-in. And that is through literally getting on the ground and getting out there and showing them what they've got. And it works. I mean, there's no question, the enthusiasm, the focus, the attention all starts to come together. And that's where you get the loyalty. And certainly as you move into year 2 and year 3, I had a guy text me yesterday, and he's a big farmer, and he's been thinking about, you know, adding the product. And he's like, you know, I've been talking to people in the area, and he says, like, half of them say it went really well, and some say, well, they didn't really see it. And I'm like, okay. I go, if you had really good results, would you tell your neighbor? He goes, well, that's a really good point. I said, all of them reordered, but only half of them are saying it worked. I said, well, what do you think they reordered it for if it didn't work? So that's the other piece of this, is if you're waiting for another farmer to tell you that this stuff works great, you know, if it really works great, you know, and this is a comment I got from Heartland, which is our partner on a co-op front. Tom called me like in December. He said, hey, like, how's the data coming in terms of getting, you know, results from your farmers? You're getting a lot of verbal comments, but are you getting their actual climate view data? I said, I got to tell you, Tom, it's been hard to get them to give it to us. He goes, honestly, that's the best news I could hear. He goes, because if that stuff didn't work, you'd have all the data you'd want. Right? He goes, but if they won't share it, that's a pretty good indicator that something's happening well, because they don't want to pay more. Right? So it's like, we're not going to share the good results. We'll definitely share the bad ones. And I think that's very true in this. And this is why personally taking a farmer out in his own field, let them connect with it. That's where you get the loyalty, and that's where you get the buy-in. And that's when they'll start making the additional moves to make it even work better, because it's like, hey, I know something's happening in my field. So even if I only saw 2 bushel, I know I had a healthier plant. Maybe I could do more of what they recommended, because I bet it's going to show me more. And so it's all part of a journey.
I would agree. Just think of it like trying to get your body healthy. I mean, if you're not wanting to go to the gym, get up. You don't want to give up eating late at night. You don't want to give up drinking with your buddies. You don't want to give up smoking cigars. You don't want to, well, shit. Just don't buy the diet plan. I mean, it isn't. Don't go to the gym. I mean, don't pay the membership.
That's exactly it. Just don't buy the diet plan.
Hey, Kevin, it sounded like you just listed all my New Year's resolutions. No cigars, no drinking, no eating.
I've done it myself so many times. And then, like Jordan said, I mean, anytime you take the easy road, you know what generally happens. So it is what it is.
But Brad, we appreciate the question and wanted to be transparent with it, and appreciate your support over the years. So we're happy to reach out to you independently and talk more and getting more detail on that. And Dave Bryan.
I think Brad's question's dead on, because JR, I mean, lots of our guys, dealers, you know, you'll have producers. I mean, didn't do anything bad. I'm just not sure what the hell it did. I don't know. I mean, but then it's like, so what did you do to check?
I think,
no, they didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with like a lot of the guys that see the results, I mean, that they are invested in soil health. They
right.
like the idea of having healthier soil. And for a lot of these guys too, that just love the product, I mean, yield's a byproduct.
They count their calories, they measure out their proteins.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, it's a lot of these guys that don't like it, it's yield. But for a lot of these guys that really like the product, I mean, they are seeing better yields, but that's just cherry on the top for them. I mean, they're seeing results in everything else, and then the yield's just byproduct. So
yes, if I go back to the guy I talked to this morning, 1,500 acres, $450,000 in fertilizer. He's putting a pound of nitrogen down per bushel of corn. If he was at John Nelson's that we just talked about in South Dakota, he's at 0.55 pounds of nitrogen per bushel. Look at the money the guy'd saved. $225,000 in input and not drop his yield. But John did that over several years. He didn't do that in one bite, but that's how he improved his soil. And that, I mean, that's real money.
Hey, I remember when Todd first came to work. Todd and I played golf at a professional level. Todd was a golf pro, and so we played in huge tournaments throughout our lives and careers. Todd, it's like selling somebody a golf club. You're like, yeah, this is the golf club I use. This is a great golf club, and the guy's like, yeah, shit, this didn't take any strokes off my game. This thing sucks. This golf club ain't worth the shit. It's like, I don't know. You know, Todd, we've seen it our whole lives with things.
But, and you asked me, remember when you asked me, what do I need to do to get better at golf? You said the same thing with farming. And, you know, what club do I buy? Take a lesson. In this case, the lesson, it just translates into doing the, as Brian said it best, so I was glad that the way he said it, this is a great first step into regen ag. You guys still a full-blown regen ag guy, but this is a great first step. And I suspect most of these bad results or no results are happening from just too much fertilizer use, too much tillage.
Yeah. So see what happens. I like this.
Any
I like
questions? Are we good? No questions?
Yeah, we've gone through and covered the questions, you know, through our conversation here. Certainly happy to answer any more if anybody's got them, but I think we went through most of them.
Yeah, maybe hold off on selling out of your beans. I was just looking at the weather wire. Now there's a big frost forecast for Argentina, so maybe I may have made a mistake selling mine a little early, but I don't know. So it's going to come and maybe zap a little more of the crop. So who knows? We'll see what happens the rest of the week.
Interesting. Well, hey, gang, if first of all, I want to thank Kevin and you and your team for helping, you know, host this webinar and help get this message out to some of your network and everybody that took the time to listen to us today. I really appreciate you giving us some of your valuable time. Hopefully we shed some light on how we can help you on your operation. We've got resources for you. The soil ebook primer will give you a lot on soil health that has nothing to do with whether or not you use our product. So whatever we can do to help you improve profit per acre, improve soil health, reduce nutrients, hopefully improve yield, you know, we're here for you. Reach out and we'd love to get involved with your operation. If there is anybody interested in being a organics investor, you know, reach out to us, you know, immediately, and maybe we can fit one or two more people in. But with that, I want to thank everybody. And anybody have any other closing thoughts?
No, if anybody's new and wants, you can always call our office, talk to Jordan or Todd, see if there's anybody out in your area that's had some experience, or, you know, if you need someone to talk to or something like that. Most of our guys are all cool with helping people out, so whatever you need.
Yeah. And we go to market through a network of farmer dealers, and we have 56 farmer dealers across the country. Some of them are on this call right now, so we can connect you to the closest farmer dealer. And if we don't have one, we can get you product. Period. You know, whether there's a farmer dealer near you or not, we'll find a way to get you product. So just give us a call, and we'll connect you to the closest one. And love to work with you.
Appreciate everything.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks.
All right.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah.
See you later.